How you guys doing? All right, man. Let's talk boxing. First of all, I really appreciate all of you taking the time to comment. Like I said, when I first built this channel, I've really got no pressure on me at all to succeed, or I'm not really bothered if people are critical of the videos and stuff I say, because at the end of the day, it's just really my opinion. And like all opinions in boxing, we can all be wrong and we can also all be right. But I love talking about boxing. I enjoy it. It's something that I've enjoyed for years. I've just never really, announced it on YouTube. I've always talked amongst friends, family, and other fans. So I'm going to answer some of your questions. Sorry, not answer your questions. I'm going to read some of the comments because I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch my videos and comment and add your piece. So the least I can do is go through and read the comments, and I try and give everyone a shout out if I can read the names, because a lot of the times people don't use their real names on YouTube. So I want to continue the conversation with, can Manny Pacquiao beat Crawford? And the more and more I think about this, right, is the more I'm convinced, of course he can beat Crawford. And I think sometimes, I know I've done it in the past, because I like a fighter and you don't know them, but you do care about them. I've loved Manny. I've watched him. The first time I ever watched Manny Pacquiao fight, the first fight I ever saw, right, was by an accident, was when he fought Berba. And this is a story I'll quickly tell you guys, right? Basically, at the time, I was working as a postman, right? If you're from America, I'm working as a mailman, right, from London. And this guy who I worked with at the time would bring me these VHS tapes in, where he had taped boxing the whole night, because I didn't have Sky at the time, right? This was the days where there wasn't YouTube wasn't even around then. I don't think YouTube existed then, or if it did, you couldn't get boxing on YouTube, right? This is the days where you had to have Sky, you had to have paid cable, right? And I didn't have it at the time. So this guy at work, he's a really nice man. He knew I liked boxing, so he used to go to sleep at home, leave a VHS tape in, and he would tape all of the boxing show and just come in and give me the tape. And I wouldn't know what fighters were on the tape. It was always exciting. It would just be like, it could be random. And usually, about 80% of the tape would be British boxing, and the other 20% would be the States, would be America. Sky Sports used to do a great little show where they'd show all the British fights, which I loved, and then they'd say, right, we're going to go to Las Vegas now, and we're going to take a look at Manny Pacquiao against Berba. And when they first announced him, I was thinking, who's this guy? Wow, a Filipino boxer. I haven't seen many Filipino boxers, and I was a big fan of Berba. I knew how good Berba was. I remember thinking, Berba's going to kill this guy, right? Because I didn't even know who Manny Pacquiao was. And I remember at the time, the commentator couldn't even pronounce his name properly. He was like Manny Pacquiao or something, like he couldn't even say it. And when I saw Manny fight, I became a fan straight away. I was like, who is this guy? This guy's unbelievable. I couldn't believe that he was going toe-to-toe with Berba, and he was winning the exchanges, and obviously he knocked Berba out, or he beat him. I think he beat him twice, right? And he fought Eric Morales. Did he fight Morales 3 times? And I know he lost once to Morales, and I think he beat Morales twice. But I became a fan straight away, I've got to be honest. His style, for me, that's the style that I would always like be drawn to, in boxers. Just relentless, just speed, power, and what impressed me about Manny when I first saw him was he could take punishment, like he could take real punishment, and he wouldn't give up. And that sort of back and forward fight with Berba, I love Berba. Berba is one of my favourite fighters as well, right? Let me know in the box below if you guys loved the babyface assassin Marco Antonio Berba. So seeing that fight got me instantly a fan, and now obviously I started to follow Manny's career, and I watched all of his fights. And then I went back and watched the fight that he had before he beat Berba, and I've forgotten the guy's name. I think he's a South African guy. Is it Labardo or something? I forgot it. I'm a bit stuttery today. I got up really early today. I didn't get much sleep because of this lockdown. My kind of pattern's been it's been a bit all over the place. I'm just doing a lot of positive things. So I became a fan. I watched all of his fights after that. And you know what's interesting? So many times when Manny would have challenges, I'll be, I don't know if he can pull this off. I don't know if he can beat Cotto. Cotto's is a big welterweight. But I remember thinking, he's going to do it. And he always does it, you know. Apart from the Mayweather loss, every fight Manny's been in, well, Mayweather and the Marquez, right? I'm not even going to include the Jeff Horn fight, because as far as I'm concerned, that was just a robbery. Like, Manny won that fight. Good. Jeff Horn did well, and Manny had a bit of an off day, but I'm not even going to get into that. So all the fights that he's had where I've had doubts, right? Because you care, because I'm scared. I don't want him to lose, right? My emotions are connected. He always pulls through it. So why shouldn't we say he can beat Crawford? And just because he's 42, right? Let's read the comments. One of you made a good point. And Crawford's 33. He's not old, but he's not young. I suppose he's in his prime. So, okay. So Warren Aben says it's a good fight if it happens. I want Manny to win if they fight. I appreciate that. Enrique Fernando says Pac-Man need only to improve stamina. Once he maintains the stamina for the whole 12 rounds, I believe he easily beats Crawford. Pac-Man can still beat all Star Wars boxers. Wow, we've got a lot of Manny fans here. It's great. Crawford can beat Pacquiao. If Pac-Man has his left hand tied to his hip all 12 rounds. You guys are funny. Crawford is another spar mate for Pacquiao. If Manny will box in and run, I think you mean box and run, he will win point blank. Bryce Stevens says love and 100. I appreciate that, man. Same to you. Lensus Matt says Pac-Man Mayweather fight. Pac-Man was robbed. Carlo Franco. If an athlete can reach 40, can fight those who are in their prime, if the 40-year-old guy keeps himself healthy and does not have any chronic disease, skills, power, speed, they still stand behind Pacquiao. Like Bradley said, the B side or the C side of Pac-Man, still an A side to those champions now. Wow, that's really from the heart. That's really inspiring. I like that. I've always liked Timothy Bradley. Gila says, with his age, it's not a miracle to beat someone like TC, Terence Crawford. Age is not an issue for Manny. Why? Question mark. Because Manny is living for a decade with healthy living compared to other boxers. That's why his body is still good and strong. You guys are intelligent people, man. I have some great points. Enrique Fernando again. Impossible to beat Pac-Man. Speed and power is too much for Crawford. At age 42, Manny's still an elite fighter. Wow, it's really great support here. Israel Vasquez. Pac-Man El Magnifico. Maybe that's, is that Mexican? Sorry about that. I've got to brush up on my Mexican, or is that Spanish? I guess that's Pac-Man is magnificent, right? I hope I got it right. If I didn't, oh well. Kenneth Brimley, Kerr Buxani, Banco. I did my best. Hard to pronounce that. No, Crawford. Crawford not able to beat Manny Pacquiao because speed and power of Manny Pacquiao is the #1 asset to Manny to defeat any fighter. Wow, a lot of Manny fans here. A bit one-sided. I have to get some Crawford fans in the house. Depends on his preparation. Pac-Man still has still a skillful fighter, speed, power, etc. Nothing to be proved. It's already there. That's why the most important thing is conditioning of the body and the mind. That's it. You guys really know your boxing. Junakino, or Juanco. Sorry if I didn't get your name right. I do try. Yeah, but Terence has a good case for being pound for pound king in boxing right now. He's in his prime. He'll be the toughest opponent Manny's ever fought since Floyd Mayweather, if not tougher. It will be a huge draw, but I'm rooting for Manny as well. But victory against Crawford won't be easy. It's a very good point. We got Steen Villarian here, or Villarin. There is no way Terence Crawford knocks out Pac-Man. If Keith Thurman, a legit welterweight, has power, is knocking people out, and Pac-Man eat all of the power. Yeah, he did eat all his punches, didn't he? Ate him up like Pac-Man. Crawford's power is nothing to Manny. He's got no power like the Dynamite from Mexico. I bet you Manny will shock punch Spud and put his butt to the canvas. You guys ain't messing around. You guys are passionate. Not once, but 2 or 3 times. But it will be a unanimous decision to Pac-Man. Pacquiao is over 42 now. Crawford is up there in his prime. I still don't think Manny will beat Crawford. Fred Hills. Claude Aldous says, I hope Pacquiao beats Crawford. He needs to win. This will boost his political candidacy in 2022. I really enjoyed that, you know. I need to do that more often. And because, yeah, that was a lot of fun. And that kind of integrated the conversation more. Like I said, I'm not making this YouTube channel, doing these videos from an arrogant perspective or thinking that I know everything about boxing. I'm really just coming on as a fan and someone who likes talking boxing with other people, and I like having positive conversations. As I said, I don't get involved in anything hateful or too nasty. I'm just too positive. I wouldn't even waste my time with that. But you guys seem really positive and some really, really great points. So yeah, I mean, I didn't really disagree with any of the comments, and I would speak my mind and say if I didn't. I'm sure as you guys are getting to know me, because it was all intelligent. Everything could be right within those things. But I just want this fight to happen now. Initially, I didn't want the fight to happen, but I'm thinking life's too short. What's there to lose? Manny Pacquiao's achieved everything. Crawford's on his way to achieving great things. Obviously, he's achieved great things, but even more. And if Manny does lose, is it really the end of the world? You know, it's not going to affect his legacy losing a fight. And if he does lose, it just shows how good Crawford is. And, you know, we're always going to say Manny wasn't fully in his prime. In that case, and it depends how the fight goes, but you know, 8-time, you know, 8 different weights world champion. I mean, how can you even comprehend that? So if he loses to Crawford, Manny's a great sportsman. He'll just say well done, and he'll just pass the torch over. But I really think Manny can win this fight if he really wants to, and if he comes in the way he came in against Furman and he trains hard, which he always does, and he takes it serious and he's got the hunger, who can stop him? But I would equally say, I don't want to be too biased, if Crawford really wants to win this fight and he trains his arse off like he always seems to, they're both really always in great shape, and he really just is relentless, then Crawford could win the fight. But I believe Manny can win it, of course I do. I've watched Manny win 90%, even more of his fights. I've only seen him lose twice. Once to Mayweather, which wasn't a disaster. It was a points decision. He didn't get beaten up or knocked out. And some people believe it was a lot closer. But, you know, let's give credit. Mayweather beat him. He beat him on boxing. And there's nothing wrong with that. And when he got knocked out by Marquez, can't really make excuses, just a great punch. But Manny still beat Marquez more times than he beat Manny, and to come back from that, that's what we love about that's the great story about Manny. Like, it's almost not a perfect story, but it is perfect. He's not a fighter that is got, you know, hasn't been defeated. I think that's why we love him, because he's a winner, and when he's lost, he's always come back and continued winning. How can you fault someone like that, you know? In a sense, he probably wouldn't be... I mean, he'd still be loved, of course, because he's brilliant, right? And I've always liked the way he's conducted himself outside of boxing. He just seems like a good human being, right? Obviously, no one's perfect. Everyone's going to have flaws and stuff, but generally does a lot of good things, and I do appreciate that. Does give a lot to his people and homeless people, you know, so much to charity, and, you know, how humble he is. It's and all the entertainment he's given me over the years, man. The amount of times, I'm sure, like you guys, I might have been feeling down or a bit depressed or bored, and I'll watch Manny's fight, one of his fights, and that just doesn't go for Manny, and it will lift me up, right? And just the excitement, you know. Manny's a fighter that I would stay up every time to watch his fights. I couldn't sleep if he was fighting, right? So for Manny, really, this is a win-win when you think about it. If he loses, oh well, he's 42. He's been beaten by another pound for pound who's a younger guy. There's no shame in that. He goes off, he retires. He's in history now. Even if he lost 5 fights in a row, which is not going to happen, it's not going to change it. he's a legend. He's going to be spoken about for years to come, and his achievements, and it's not just his achievements, his style of fighting. That's what I loved about him. He's so exciting. Have you ever seen Manny Pacquiao in a boring fight? I've never ever in my life, like, show me or send me a link of Manny in a boring fight. Never in a boring. Even the fights that he lost, he still was a brilliant fight. But I wouldn't be surprised if Manny pulls it off and shocks everyone if the fight happens and really just goes to another level, right? I wouldn't be surprised. But I've got to call this out, right? It's just a thought I had. I know Crawford can beat Manny, right? Of course he can. He's capable. He's a special fighter, obviously, but I can't really see how Crawford beats Manny, though, if I'm being honest. The only way I can see him beating Manny is on points, you know, just being a bit sharper because of the youth and you know, being where he's at and where Manny's at. But I can't see him, you know, beating Manny up or, you know, or just out jabbing him and Manny not being able to hit him. He's gonna get hit by Manny. I don't think, you know, no fighter gets in and can evade Manny's shots. He's going to catch him, and obviously if that was to happen, sorry, my alarm, it would be a huge shock. Not unless Manny just gets old overnight. And when I say old overnight, guys, I'm sure you know what I mean. I don't mean he's old because he's 42 in boxing terms. You know, when a fighter, when all of a sudden it's not there no more, they haven't got the legs, it just comes to an end. If that happens and he got stopped or knocked out, then you couldn't really, you just have to put it down and say, look, he's had his day. But if he comes in the shape that he was for Furman, or even a little bit better, it's going to be a hard fight for Crawford. But the same goes, it's really the same in reverse. If Crawford comes in the way he's been looking lately, the last few fights, he's just looked unbeatable. And obviously we know that Kell Brook was not in his prime, but Kell Brook's still a good fighter, and he beat him in traumatic fashion. I mean, Crawford's been beating everyone like that. He's been making it look pretty easy, and I'm so impressed by his style. I have watched him, so they can both beat each other. You just never know. What about if it was a draw? Now, that's another possibility if it went on points. But yeah, I could see Crawford getting it by very close. You know, like something like 115, 113 on the cards. That's the only way I can see it, right? And of course I can be wrong. You guys might think different. But I can actually see Manny. I can see Manny. What one of you said, I can see Manny dropping Crawford. I've seen him be hurt. He kind of got put down before, didn't we? There's a bit of controversy. Did he get put down? Did he slip? It looked like a shot. So and with Manny's power, but then again Crawford's got power. But you'd have to say, I mean, who is? I personally think Manny's the bigger puncher, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some of you might think otherwise. But yeah, I really hope this fight happens if it's going to happen. If it doesn't happen, then it's just been, I suppose it's been good talking about this. I'll have to do a Manny Pacquiao Errol Spence fight, a separate video from this, and talk about that one. But I might start doing this now on the videos. Obviously, I won't probably do it on every video, but every now and then I'll go through the comments and read them out and stuff. So I really appreciate it. It makes a good conversation. Just trying to think, but yeah, that in my mind I'm going, Crawford's going to have, you know, the advantage, but I'm still thinking, how's he going to beat him? Because Manny can take some punches, man. He just doesn't quit. He doesn't get phased. Look at the shots he took from Furman. And Furman's a really big, strong welterweight, but he really did batter Keith Furman for the first 6-7 rounds. You've got to give Furman credit. He probably won a lot of the rounds in the latter stages, but Manny still won it by a clear advantage. And the knockdown and that body shot where I don't know how, Furman's a warrior, I don't know how he didn't go down. He almost went down when he was holding his ribs, or his where he got hit in the body. Yeah, Manny really gave him a beating. Just wondering what's left. But it's interesting because I saw a little clip which was 2 years old, guys, right? It's on YouTube, and it's Manny's in the wildcard gym, Freddie Roach's gym, and someone asked him, you know, how would you beat Crawford? He's just got that kind of smile on his face, and he says, speed is the key. And he seemed very confident, but obviously that was 2 years ago. A lot can change since then. But the way he was smiling was like, I love that Pacquiao smile. It was almost like he knows something that we don't know. You know, he seems confident. So if he takes the fight, I believe that he can win it. But the only thing I'm thinking, I still got to say it, right? I can't help it. Who has Crawford beaten that is anywhere in the caliber of the fighters Manny's beaten? And I know that might be unfair because you can only beat what's in front of you, right? And it's not Crawford's fault. You can't. What can you do if you're in a division where, you know, everyone you're beating is a good fighter, but there's not like elite. You know, there's not pound for pound. He hasn't beaten a pound for pound great yet, has he? Let's be honest. Off the top of my head, he's beaten Kell Brook, who is a world-class fighter, but he's not a pound for pound. He's beaten Jeff Horn, obviously. I know he beat Ricky Burns from England, who's a world-class fighter, but he's not a pound for pound. Beat the Benavides, who's a good fighter, but he hasn't beaten like a pound for pound. You know, like the fighters that Manny's beaten. Manny's beaten so many champions. The list is so long. We'll be here all day. So that could play against him, but a counter argument for Crawford, and I can make this. I still think though Crawford's so talented and he's such a good boxer that he can overcome that. If that's a weakness, if that makes sense, because I'm trying to be fair on both sides. So I'm saying, you know, Crawford hasn't beaten anyone of the level of Manny Pacquiao or any of the fighters that Manny's beaten. He's not really beaten any fighters that are better than a lot of the guys Manny's fought. And that's a bit unfair to say that because Manny's been around, it seems like, for a long time, and he had all of these great champions that he could fight, like De La Hoya, you know, Ricky Hatton, Miguel Cotto, Shane Mosley, Barrera, Morales. It's crazy his resume. Keith Thurman, you know, Adrian Broner. Look at the fighters he's beaten, and the experience he's got. But you still would have to say, because Terence Crawford is so sharp and he's very unorthodox as well. He can box southpaw orthodox. He's fast. He's quick. He's got a good defense. He's got everything, and that kind of counteracts. But I'm just trying to weigh up the pros and the cons again. But yeah, it will be such an exciting fight. If they've got to make that fight, that will be brilliant for boxing. That is and I want to see more of these guys because I love these fighters. Crawford, Spence, Pacquiao. These are the most exciting fighters for me. It's such a good division. I personally, I'm not really keen on Pacquiao fighting Mikey Garcia. I'm not really excited about that fight. I think Manny will beat him quite easy. I think he'll stop Mikey Garcia, or he'll win that. You never know. Obviously, Mikey Garcia is a good fighter, but I just know it's not the same. Crawford's is a much more dangerous fight. So I suppose the way Manny sees it, if he's going to go out, he's going to fight the best. Why not? You know, he wasn't expected to beat Thurman. Look what he done. So should really have more faith and more confidence in him. We're only really just looking at age, really, and as you said, Manny's not your average 42-year-old. There's no 42-year-old on the earth who's going to have the engine and the fitness, and obviously he eats, lives healthy, doesn't indulge in any harmful stuff. So yeah, it's I'm thinking about it a lot. Can't stop, especially since we've been doing these videos talking about it. I can't wait. So yeah, I keep going into this mode. I'll talk about it and I'm start daydreaming, thinking about the fight, how it will go. I think today I'm gonna go and watch some. I'm gonna watch a couple of Crawford fights. I'm gonna watch a couple of Pacquiao fights, just to kind of recap my mind and see if I can make a better decision and have a better analysis on what I think will happen and can Manny win and how he can win. But yeah, I think he can win through. I said it in the last video. I think he can win through hurting Crawford and just taking him out of his game. But if he can't hurt him and he's not landing lots of shots, then that's going to be very, very, very difficult. But I think Crawford could beat Manny in a similar way to what Mayweather did, by keeping him on the jab and not allowing him to get off on that rhythm when he throws all those combinations, and you know, and Crawford's the sort of fighter that can do that with his footwork and his IQ. But anyway, that's enough today. Let's talk boxing in the next video. This video has been quite long, and I'll see you guys in the comments.